Starting off into the match, both of our contestants here have stun blocks already on place. Christopher is moving in with an Ice Blade. Both of our participants are very equal out on health, a little over 10,000 on each side. Andrew moving on in with an Elemental Blade. Christopher is maintaining a pip advantage over Andrew as of right now. It's going to be very interesting to see how this works out. Minus 80 shield going up on Christopher. Very interesting play. Andrew's going in for a freeze to knock off one of those stun blocks. Although Christopher does have 3 more stun blocks left. Christopher's moving in with a Winter Moon. Going to knock off one of those stun blocks off of Andrew. This will do a little bit of damage. Andrew doesn't really have very much defensive play on right now. 1366 done to Andrew. He is now down to 8,200 health. Christopher's still maintaining his max health at 10,792. Andrew does have that 1 power pip advantage over Christopher as of right now. As you can see, there's an Ice Elf. Going to knock off that Ice Shield there. Fortunately for Andrew, he's going to use a Blade. Going up with the Glacial Wall, 3 minus 25% shields going up on Christopher to help knock out a little bit of any ice offensive hits Andrew's going to be placing on. It's going to help kind of deal with that shield a little bit. Andrew's also putting up an ice shield for himself against Christopher's future hits. Christopher does not have any other defensive spells currently on him, no Fortify or Brace. Meaning these shields are currently his only ice defense. Seeing a Winter Moon play come from Andrew, this is going to be the first major hit on Christopher. There will not be a stun involved with the stun blocks, unfortunately for Andrew, but did a little bit of damage to Christopher, not as much as Andrew was hoping for, very likely. Now they are fairly evened out on pips right here. Andrew has that slight pip advantage over Christopher of 1 power pip value. Both currently have overtimes on them. Christopher's going to lose his 1 ice shield very soon, leaving him open for any vulnerable attacks. Will we see any defensive strategies used here, such as another shield, or is he going to try to go for a blade and do a bigger hit on Andrew, as Andrew does not have any defensive maneuver himself? Christopher is going in for a stun. Andrew does have 1 final stun block up. However, this leaves a good potential for another bigger hit. For example, a Woolly Mammoth to go in and commit a stun onto Andrew. Christopher still maintaining a 1,500 health advantage over Andrew. Andrew's moving in with another triple ice shield, minus 25% for Christopher's future hits, but no other bigger defensive plays, such as a brace that can last for a little while over time. Will likely not be as big of a defensive move against Christopher, but Christopher's going to do the same thing over on his side, another triple ice shield going up for him. Neither one of the participants have any damage boosters. There is no global effect into play, as they are both using ice spells here. Global effect is a very dangerous and risky effect. That overtime has expired. 2 ice shields still remain up on Andrew. Will Christopher try to remove that with another overtime or moving for a bigger hit? Frostbite is being placed onto Christopher, knocking out his ice shields as well. Those ice shields will not do much with the amount of pierce that Andrew's getting up from his aura from the May cast of his pet, although Christopher is still maintaining a near 2,000 health advantage. So you try you're going to remove that over time. Leaves one ice shield up on Christopher. Unfortunately, it's not a major ice shield, especially with the pierce. It is going to do very little to nothing in terms of defensive significance. As you can see, he is stolen with a steel ward. Christopher is now open to be attacked. Will we see any type of defensive play, or is Andrew going to move in for a bigger hit? He's currently at 8 power pips, 1 power pip short from something big, such as a Lord of Winter, although he is in the position to use a King Artorias. We have a minus 70 ice shield going up on Christopher. Unfortunately for Andrew, he cannot seize that opportunity to pull off any big type of hit. But will we see any type of another overtime? He currently has no blade to waste. And there it is, another overtime. Ice Elf only can take up 2 of his pips, allowing him to regain those pips very soon. We're just within a couple of rounds of Andrew being able to pull off a bigger hit. Andrew still has a few ice shields on him. Not very significant ice shields that we've seen before. And Christopher still does maintain health advantage. So Christopher does have the potential to pull off a bigger hit. Despite not having any damage boosters, Christopher is still an advantage of power pip value. Christopher's going in with a stun. No more stun blocks are on Andrew. Meanwhile, Christopher's still maintaining two stuns on himself. Andrew is now in position without a shield on Christopher. Oh, but Christopher did put that shield up just right before Andrew could pull off a bigger hit next round. An unfortunate move for Andrew. However, if he waits one more round, that overtime can take it off of Christopher, but Christopher's likely going to play again defensively to prevent Andrew from pulling off a bigger hit. Christopher's still maintaining a 1,500 health advantage over Andrew. Andrew's just looking for that perfect position to hit. We're going to see another stun come off of Andrew. Going to knock off a... Should that stun have went through on that one? I'm uncertain. Christopher still has stun blocks over on my end, so very uncertain if that stun should have actually went through onto Christopher. And we're seeing Wonder Moon being played from Andrew. Hopefully it will do a fair bit of damage to Christopher. He currently has no ice shield. And then a critical as well from Andrew. Unfortunately, it was blocked by Christopher. 1,100 damage, not too bad. Could have been 2,200 for Andrew to be placed onto Christopher, but Christopher was just able to block that critical. He's now maintaining a rough 300 health advantage over Andrew. And as you can see, Christopher is placing up some stun blocks. I'm uncertain if that last stun should have went through. Over on my end, he still has stun blocks already on. And then we're going to see another pet cast aura come up. That 15% pierce. Those ice shields that Andrew has are not going to be very effective. And we're going to see another freeze come out. Going to try to knock off one of those blocks. Andrew's definitely looking in for a bigger hit as well, such as Woolly Mammoth, to hopefully do a big stun, or maybe even preparing for Lord of Winter the second he can. With an overtime on Andrew, those ice shields are going to be going away eventually. They're equal out on pips right now. With the overtime and pierce that both of the combatants here have, they're definitely in the position to be able to hit each other, despite having no damage boosters on themselves. We're going to see stun come off of Andrew, knocking out a stun block off of Christopher. Andrew is maintaining a slight pip advantage over Christopher as of right now for the moment, but they're definitely in position to hit each other. We're likely going to see a defensive move from Christopher, or maybe even perhaps a blade if you really wanted to risk it. But right now he's in a good position to hit, as Andrew does not have any major defensive plays. Unfortunately, it's a pass from Christopher, whether or not he might have had a perfect hit that he's looking for, or he wanted to wait for something else in terms of strategy. But Andrew is now in position to do a bigger hit, as Christopher currently has no defense available on him. Likely going to see a larger hit. Perhaps another Winter Moon. Maybe a Lord of Winter. Winter Moon coming out. Going to do a little bit of damage. Hopefully you can get a crit on there. Unfortunately, no crit for Andrew. Still did 1100. Knocking out Christopher just a little bit. Andrew now has a slight 300 health advantage on him. And Christopher is stunned as well, meaning Andrew does have the potential to hit again. He has 10 pips on the side, perfect for a Lord of Winter. If he can crit with a Lord of Winter, that can do some serious damage against Christopher. Likely around 2,500-ish, based on what we've seen in from Andrew's previous attacks. But we're going to see an Ice Shield at play. Whether or not Andrew might have actually had an Ice hit ready, that was a perfect moment for Andrew to pull off a bigger hit on Christopher. As we've seen in previous matches, Christopher has been able to maintain a high amount of health and do a decent amount of damage over time. Unfortunately, Christopher did not have any major ability there to defense by the looks of it. He wanted to go straight to knock off that shield with an overtime, but Andrew is now back on his chance to cast here. Likely going to see a bigger hit, but we're just going to have to see how this plays out. Likely going to see Lord of Winter. No, but King Artorias is in play. Getting out of 10% Pierce there. And give him a little pip. Do a fair bit of damage. If you can get a critical with this, it can do a decent amount, but unfortunately no crit. 1,300 damage has been done to Christopher. Andrew is maintaining a little over 1,000 health advantage. But Christopher is now in the play for pips. And he is ready to move in with a bigger hit. We're going to see a Winter Moon coming out here. If he can get a critical, this will do a fair bit of damage on Andrew. It's going back and forth, very neck and neck for Ice on Ice play. Very offensive maneuvers that we've seen so far. Did 1,100, about the same amount of damage. But Andrew is maintaining a slight 300 health advantage over on Christopher. Although Christopher does have more pips to hit again if he can, we're likely going to see a defensive play from Andrew. But now he's going to move in with another Winter Moon, going to do a decent amount of damage. Very offensive plays for Ice on Ice. As you can see here, no critical, but a little bit of Pierce to help do a little bit more damage. 1,200, not as much of a difference as he was hoping for, probably not likely as big of a hit as he was wanting. But Christopher is now getting lower. He's below 50% of his health. Andrew is above 50% of his. Defensive shielding on, no brace, no nothing to try to tank in whatever hit Christopher has in play. A Lord of Winter will be a high damage dealing spell if Christopher's willing to lose all his pits, but he's putting up an Ice Shield, a very defensive play. However, this leaves enough room for Andrew to put up an Ice Shield on himself. That overtime is about to expire, which will not be good for Christopher. Whether or not he actually had any good hits he wanted to use or giving him for something, he may have just lost his ability to pull off one of the biggest hits he could out of this match. But we're seeing an Ice Elf from Andrew, very offensive playstyles. It seems whenever they have that perfect moment to hit and shield, they're not really seizing that perfect exact opportunity. It's a very interesting playstyle to see from such a defensive class. 1,500 health advantage over on Andrew's side. Are we going to see any move from Christopher, like a bigger hit? There it is, a Lord of Winter, the biggest hit that we've seen in play so far. If he can get a critical with this, it can do a decent amount of damage and remove Andrew's pips that he currently has on right now, which will really set him back. Unfortunately, no critical, but still going to do a fair bit of damage on Andrew, or at least that's the plan from Christopher's perspective. 1,400, if he could have got a critical, that would have done 3,000, and that really could have brought Andrew down. Andrew's maintaining a slight health advantage over Christopher, but now we're seeing another defensive play. Andrew only has 1 power pip compared to Christopher's 2. It is now a turn for Christopher's side. That overtime is about to expire very soon on him. Christopher may be wanting to play another defensive shield as he works up for another bigger hit. But he's actually going to put some stun blocks on him. On my end, Christopher still has stun blocks, but it looks like those might be glitched. I don't see why Christopher would want to keep playing those stun blocks, but then again, I stumbled through when I didn't even realize it. So, very uncertain if there's actually any sunblocks on Christopher right now, which is bugged out on my end. But very offensive playstyles, as these two Ice Wizards are very neck on each other. As I build a Pips, what is likely to be seen here? Likely some defensive play, but this overtime out of place. There we go. 3 minus 25 Ice Shields going back up on Christopher. But if Andrew gets that May cast from his pet to get extra pierce, those 3 shields might not matter. A simple overtime such as Ice Elf or Frostbite, especially with critical, can do a little bit of damage and get those shields off. As we've seen, another Ice Elf is being here. Another overtime in place. As they continue to maintain such a very equal playstyle and health advantage on each other. It's almost as if they can kind of predict their own moves. Because we're seeing kind of them spend time focusing on different out-of-the-box plays. For example, when they had the potential to hit and potential to shield, they kind of avoided that, and they kind of copied each other on that. It's almost as if they're predicting each other's moves. Frostbite over here, if he can get a critical, that could be detrimental on Andrew. With just that one shield, only 7%. No critical, but that overtime is now in play. Andrew is very likely to not shield in the future as he prepares for maybe a bigger hit to try to knock out Christopher. Although their health is very neck and neck, it's going to be very interesting to see how he plays it. By putting up this minus 70, he prepares for another hit from Christopher. But if Christopher can easily place an overtime on him again, it's definitely going to keep Andrew away from wanting to use whatever shields he has left in his deck. But Andrew does have a pip advantage that Christopher doesn't. With one Ice Shield on Christopher, that's about to go away with that overtime. Are we going to see Christopher do another Ice Shield as we see Andrew likely prepare for another bigger hit, such as another Lord of Winter, or any type of stunning utility, such as Winter Moon? Another Ice Shield going up. But he still lacks the amount of pips that he needs to pull off a bigger hit so far. Andrew only has one power pip advantage ahead of him. Going up with an Ice Shield as well, both of them playing very defensively. They know that sooner rather than later, they're likely going to hit. It's just a matter of when exactly they will hit. And it seems very well that they're able to predict each other's moves on this. As each time they have major hits, the major potential to hit and the major potential to shield, they've all been neck and neck going back and forwards, maintaining at each other's level. Christopher's going to go off for another stun. And it does not look like there is a stun block on Andrew. He is stunned. This is going to be that one round. Christopher's going to be able to bring that back up. That overtime will knock out that Ice Shield eventually on Andrew. We'll likely see maybe another Ice defensive play from Andrew. How's he going to pull this? We're going to have to see. Christopher is in position to hit with no Ice Shield on Andrew. But Christopher only has 4 pips. The best he can pull off right now is a Winter Moon or King Torius. There it is, another Winter Moon going on in. If you get a critical, this could be detrimental. But it does not look like he... There it is. There's that critical, actually. Is he going to block? It was blocked. Unfortunately, saw earlier Christopher did block. Bigger hit from Andrew. That could have been pretty bad as well. But Christopher is maintaining a slight 1100 approximate health advantage over Andrew. But now Andrew has the pips, and Christopher does not have the defense. And there that is right there. Woolly Mammoth's going to do a decent amount. And if he can get a critical, this can bring Christopher down to where Andrew is at on his health. Once again, maintaining that equal skill balance between the two participants. No critical, unfortunately, but still going to do a decent amount of damage to Christopher anyway. Sadly, that was not a critical. That could have done a fair bit of damage. But it looks like Christopher is now stunned as Andrew maintains a 300 health advantage. Very back and forth gameplay we're seeing from two very skilled PvP players, ice on ice. Very interesting match. Looks like we're going to see more defensive plays and overtime coming on in. Are we going to see an overtime play from Andrew, or is he going to try to go defensive as well? They definitely don't want each other to get that hit advantage over one another. But they're kind of, like I said, they're kind of predicting their moves. They kind of know what to expect. They're so back and forth on this. It's very interesting to see who exactly is going to fall under in defeat. I believe it will be likely that we're going to see Christopher maybe try to do an overtime on Andrew so he can prevent Andrew from putting up or not wanting to influence any shielding on him, but they're really not in that exact position yet to want to pull off a bigger hit. It's going to be definitely by a surprise. But we got that Winter Moon coming out from Christopher. If he can get a critical, this will bring Andrew down pretty far to near death. No critical. Andrew is at 2,000 health. Christopher is at 500 health advantage on him. But that overtime is going to knock out that last ice shield that Christopher appears to have on. Likely Christopher will do another ice shield unless he wants to try to move offensively and pull off another hit. It's very interesting to see how Andrew would counter something like that. I believe Andrew might want to try to go for a bigger hit as of right now before he starts playing defensively again, as Christopher's not really prepared for that. But now he is with that ice shield up. Andrew is not in the position to hit. We haven't really seen any type of brace or fortify type play here, but we have seen Stillward before, and here it goes again, taking that one ice shield that Christopher had. Andrew now has that on his advantage. He might need that with a little extra health, as Andrew nears enough pips to pull off another hit. Neck on pips here. Who's going to pull off that next bigger hit? Are we going to see King Artorias in play as they try to pull off a big hit without having to have the time to save up for bigger pips? Or are they going to try to save up for something a little bit bigger? Maybe a Woolly Mammoth again? Maybe try to use that for stun utility and extra damage, or maybe try to go for a bigger Lord of Winter. It looks like if either one of them can critical with the Lord of Winter without an ice shield on them, it could be very detrimental and instantly kill their opponent. We're seeing Christopher go off with a Frostbite. If he can pull off a critical on this Frostbite, that could be very helpful long term in getting the health down to just where he needs for that perfect one-shot opportunity. No critical, but now he has no pips. He has one ice shield, but no overtime to take that off. So Andrew might try to go for something to take that off, or maybe even another Steel Ward again to take that from him. We're going to see a Frostbite as well. Very predictable plays back and forwards. These two participants here, they're reading each other like a book. They know exactly what they're going to do, as it seems. They're very balanced out. They're very skill level. They are very, very skilled, very PvP intellect Ice Wizards right here. Christopher's in the mood to hit. Likely going to see a defensive play here. Maybe in overtime if you wanted one, but it doesn't look like it. But he's going to remove that overtime, but that does not provide any defensive play for Christopher. Unfortunately, that leaves Andrew in a position to hit with a King Artorias when he gets enough pips to do so. Winter Moon's in play from Andrew. Can he get a critical? No, unfortunately. A critical could have done a decent amount to Christopher, but they're both low, but they're still very similar on health. Pet Maycast adding a little bit of extra pierce there. But now the tides have kind of turned. We're likely going to see Andrew play a little more defensively here as Christopher is building up his pips right now for a bigger hit. Andrew's next few decisions are really going to determine how well he will be able to survive to the rest of the match, to pull off some more hits to knock Christopher down and actually win. He has a slight health advantage on him, but unfortunately, Christopher did have a stun block, and it looks like Andrew may not have been expecting that. Christopher is now in position to hit with the King Artorias if he has it. Or even a Lord of Winter will come extremely close to killing him, if not do just enough. But we're seeing a defensive play from Christopher. Could have easily pulled off a bigger attack there. However, that would have left Andrew a little bit open out right there. It looks like Andrew might have one stun block, is what it appears on my end. So Christopher might not try to go for a stun on Andrew. But it's very interesting to see how these very these last few moments of this match, I'm sure we are nearing the end timer here. As Christopher and Andrew are still neck and neck. They maintain this neck and neck balance throughout the entire match. Who's going to get that one op? Who's going to get that one shot? A protected Ice Shield at that Andrew had casted, and then a critical Frostbite. Unfortunately, he couldn't get any criticals with any other hits before then, but a critical hit is better than a non-critical hit at all. But Andrew still blocked that one critical that he was able to pull off. Likely Andrew will put up another shield again, or maybe even perhaps he'll try to go for an overtime himself. There's that one shield right there. Both contestants are building up enough pips to be able to pull off a bigger size hit. With Andrew, however, he has that Ice Shield up. He might be ready to pull off a hit if Christopher is not willing to play defensively or try to attack him with another bigger hit. This is going to be a difficult position to call right here. Christopher's going to go in for a little bit of hit, not much, but he's going to take off that damage. He's going to take off that damage shield he's got on there and add himself a blade. Unfortunately, though, this does leave him vulnerable, but he does have that one Ice Shield up, which will be enough to give him that one round he needs where Andrew's going to have to play defensively or get that shield off. He can't do both, and whatever decision will be able to determine how this round ends. It looks like this match will be up for Christopher as he tries to pull off another bigger hit. It is not looking good for Andrew. But as these two players right here have predicted each other back and forth throughout the match, they're in that position to truly determine what they need to do. Let's see what that final split-second decision will be. It was a pass. As it was called earlier, Christopher's got that one moment up. No shield on play as Christopher moves in with a Winter Moon. Can he get a critical on that just for the fun of it? There's a critical, and watch him not block. Is he not going to block? There it goes. No block either. 1,700, a decent amount, and he is down. Christopher is the winner of the Ice on Ice match. A well-played match back and forth. These two very intelligent Ice PvP players were going back and forth. They had potential to hit, but they shielded, and they kind of predicted that they would avoid those potential gaps. So very interesting moves right there. A very interesting match. Well played. Congratulations to Christopher.